Hey mama, do you find yourself wishing you knew you were on the right path with your business? Or wanting to know how to do it all as a work-at-home mom and entrepreneur? If you struggle with imposter syndrome, mom guilt, or fear of failure, then you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Alexia, a Christian mindset coach passionate about teaching moms how to renew their minds to find success both in business and motherhood. You can overcome the negative thoughts holding you back from fully stepping into your calling. I know what it's like to worry your business will never work, to feel mom guilt every time you work on your business, to realize your mindset is hindering you, but not knowing how to change it in a Christ-centered way. I created the Mama with a Calling podcast to teach you how to use the powerful combination of God's Word and proven mindset strategies to help you break free from negative, paralyzing thoughts and gain clarity and confidence to go where God is leading you. As you step out of the old way of thinking and into God's way, you'll find more peace, joy, and purpose. Pop in those earbuds and get ready to let God work in you so He can work through you. Hi there. Welcome back to the Mom with a Calling podcast. This is Alexia. It has been a minute since I did a podcast episode. I am so sorry because last time it had been a minute since I did a podcast episode. I hate that phrase. Actually, it's been a minute, but it's just a common thing that we say now. And life got crazy again. There was another family emergency, this time with my grandfather. And it's just feeling like everything is happening all at once. When I was there with him, settling him in for some cancer treatment, his sister, who is approaching 90, she also was having issues. Like, there's just all these things happening. And I'm starting to realize that I'm getting to that age, I guess, where you have like kids that are sick, but then you have like your grandparents or your parents that are sick and aging, and just things can happen all at once. And this actually leads into the topic for today's episode, which is all about the need for taking time to recover when things get busy, when things feel chaotic, when you're starting to feel like run down, but also even before that, when you're starting to just feel like everything is spinning around you so fast and you turn around and you're like, what day is it? And I was talking to a friend about, she was like mentioning that she was going to take a break. Like, her mom had suggested to her that she take a break and she just take a couple of days while her husband's off for the holidays. And she was like, at first, she's like, haha, that's funny. And she's like, no, really, that would be amazing. A night or two away to just relax and think and plan. And she was just so amazed at the thought of doing something like that, taking the time to relax and focus on her business decisions and not have that constant interruption of kids. Like, we love our kids, but they make it hard to think, right? Because you just can't, there's always somebody pulling you somewhere, needing a snack, something's going on. And so when you can have that quiet, we see those jokes online all the time. Like, what I want for Christmas, I want to be able to have 5 minutes to myself. So we can't even imagine taking like a whole day to ourselves, a couple of hours to ourselves. And as she was saying this, I was getting so excited because I was like, yes, this is why I created this new resource, the Clarity Retreat Kit, because I have done that for years and I know how powerful it can be. Now, it's not easy to take the time to get away, but it is so valuable. And even when I say that, the idea of getting away, there's probably something in you that's like, yes, I just need time to think. Or maybe you don't even realize that's what you need. So in this episode, I want to share a little bit about kind of what I've done with these clarity retreats, what I now call them clarity retreats, and how they've affected me. And then kind of what this process looks like and why it'll be helpful for you. So what happened to me, when I started online business is I was still working my full-time job outside of the home, and I would find myself getting really overwhelmed with all the thoughts swirling around in my head, and I couldn't figure out what to even focus on. And I did that for many seasons. And I sometimes would sit down and like start, I kind of had the feeling like I just need to get a plan. I need to get a plan together. And I would sit down and I would try to like write everything down in a notebook or plan it out in a planner or whatever. But I still felt uneasy, I guess, moving forward. Like, it still felt like it wasn't quite clear. And when I finally quit my job and I was at home, things got even crazier because I had a little one running around, and like it just felt like I did not have time to think. And he's a talker and I'm a talker, and that's fine. But it means that as an only child, he is constantly talking to me, sometimes at me, and it can be a lot. So I didn't have the ability to sit and think. And I just remember one year getting so frustrated, and I was just like, I need to sit down and get all of these thoughts out of my head in front of me, and I need to pray about them. I want to know what God wants me to do, but I also need to know what I'm supposed to be doing in like the practical, like the tangible. What are the things I need to work on? And I need to have some sort of plan of where I'm going so that every single time I go to sit down to work, I know what I'm doing. And so when I first did this, it took me hours and hours of kind of fumbling through and trying to figure out how to process all the thoughts and how do I create a plan out of this, all of that. But each time it's gotten easier and easier, and it is one of my favorite things to do. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed with all of the business ideas, you feel like there are like lots of decisions, lots of projects you need to be working on, but don't have time to work on. It kind of feels like everything's hanging in the air, and you can feel it because it feels stressful. You start to feel overwhelmed. You can start to feel like really snappy with others because it's like these loose, open-ended thoughts, and you can't quite get them to close down. And so your brain is basically on overdrive. And so this process is a great way to reduce that feeling of overwhelm, have some peace, get some clarity, and be able to move forward with intention, so that when you're not working, you're not still trying to hold all those ideas in your head, and you know that when you sit down to work, you know what you're doing. So essentially the process, like the overarching process, goes like this. You go into it, or this is how it went for me. I went into it with all of my thoughts and ideas. I processed through them with prayer and seeking God's direction. I spent however long that needed to take, because I know it can be hard to get away, but for me, I did this when like my son would go to his grandparents. That's how I first did it. Or like I would have my husband like, hey, why don't you guys go camping for the weekend or whatever. So I had essentially unlimited, a whole day to focus on this, or even a whole afternoon, like 4 or 5 hours if I wanted to be able to do this, because I didn't know how long it was going to take me to really process through. So just taking the time to sit there, pray, process, all of that. Then getting clear. Like, this is the amazing part. When I would take the time to do that, I would get clear on what I need to do and what I don't need to be doing. And then I could create a plan on how to do that in real life when I would get back to reality. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit more about the benefits of having this kind of retreat. So I've called this like a solo business retreat, or a CEO day with God, or like I said, a clarity retreat. That's what I'm calling it now, because that's what you get out of it. You get clarity. And CEO day with God is also something that you could think of this as, where it's a time to sit and figure out your business direction and all of that. But I don't know that lands with everybody, because people don't know what that means. They don't see themselves as a CEO, all of that. So it's like clarity. We all want clarity, right? And if you've bought those in the past, I had a CEO day with God product before, a resource, and this is actually different. It uses some of the same components, but this is very intentionally designed to be a retreat. Like, you're going to take time, do this from beginning to end, and it's going to be an intentional retreat. So, the benefits of doing something like this are, number one, like I said, all those open-ended loops can now be closed. When we have thoughts, and what I mean by open-ended loops. So let's say you're thinking to yourself, like maybe you watch, something on Facebook or YouTube, or you listen to a podcast and you hear somebody say something like the importance of a welcome sequence in your emails or something like that. And then that gets into your head of like, ooh, I need to work on my welcome sequence. And then you hear somebody say something about a website, and you're like, ooh, I need to work on my website. And then you hear somebody say something about having a simple offer to put out there to help people, to serve your audience. And you're like, ooh, I need to think of an offer. And so these thoughts start to be like these open-ended things where you haven't made a decision about them. You haven't figured out how you're going to do them. You haven't even figured out if you should do them. They're just in your mind, kind of floating around. And then there are other things that you want to do. Like maybe you already have a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog or whatever, and you want to create videos and they're on your list, and that you want to be on social media posting, promoting your podcast or YouTube channel or whatever. So you have like these ongoing to-do lists there, and it's like you're trying, it's like, it feels like you're in molasses, like you're trying to go, but you don't have the time, it feels like, to do those things. And so these ideas are just floating around, and that feeling is so stressful. It's overwhelming. It creates overwhelm because those are, it's like decision fatigue because they're not answered questions. They're just floating around. Number 2 is that it helps you to figure out what to lay down and what to keep doing. This is a big one because a lot of times, like I said, all those open-ended loops, some of those things you don't actually need to do, but you don't know that yet because you haven't had the time and the intentionality to sit down and question each and every idea. And so sometimes we get overwhelmed and stress ourselves out because we're trying to do too many things, or we think we should be doing all of these things, and we don't need to be doing that. So when you go through this process, you see very clearly what you need to lay down and what you need to keep doing. Number 3 is that you can see clearly what God is leading you to do. And this is the utmost important thing, is that you pray. You pray over each of these. And I'll walk you through this process in the Clarity Retreat kit. But just in whatever way works for you, you can pray over it and get a sense of where is God leading you, and you'll know what that looks like. Number 4, you can create a plan to move forward with intentionality. And number 5, you get to walk away then when you do this process, even though it feels like a lot, it feels like a big sacrifice, you get to have peace, confidence, and you ultimately get more done. You get more accomplished because you are working on the things you're supposed to be working on. And when you get back to work, and like when reality, the new year hits or the next quarter hits or wherever you are in that process, you know what you're supposed to be doing each and every week. I used to do this all the time. I would sit down to work and I'm like, I got to work, but I didn't really have a plan. So I would just, I don't know, like do randomness on my business. And so when I started doing this process, then when I went to sit down to work, I knew what I was working on and that it was working toward these bigger goals. And those goals were like clear to me that God was calling me to do those things. So it all created this alignment, and it just worked out to where I knew that what I was doing is what I was supposed to be doing. So I know this all sounds great. I mean, I would hope it sounds great, but you're also probably thinking like, well, that's great, but when am I going to have time to do something like this? And how do I actually do it myself? Because like I said, it took me hours and hours, multiple tries to figure out how to do this process in a way that was like in order of figuring out what to do and also taking the time, right? So that's why I created this new Clarity Retreat kit. It walks you through step by step how to prepare for your retreat, both mentally. So we go over some mindset stuff, your heart, and also physically, like your environment, what you need, all of that. Tips and things for how to be successful, and then step by step how to hear where God is leading you in your business, and all of that is through like video trainings and stuff. And then you create that plan to actually work on those goals, and there's video trainings, workbooks, PDF planners to help you do it all. And what's amazing about that is you get to use it year after year because it's digital. And I know how important clarity is to your success. So that's why I wanted to create this for you, to make it easy that you can just get this and download the workbook, listen to the training, and just make it happen. And I just know that the clarity that you're going to get out of this process is going to just take a huge burden off your shoulders. And as we go into the new year, this is the perfect time to be able to do this because you want to start next year strong, right? And if you miss it, it's okay. But we all want to have that, like, or at least I feel like this, the beginning of the year, we want to get started. We want to go in a way that we can make the most of our time, right? And we want to be able to have those goals in place of what we're doing so that we can, have that intentionality in our work. Because if you don't have clarity, then you don't know what to work on each week and you just spin your wheels. Like you're just kind of guessing. And you spend money on random courses because you're searching for answers. But really, it's that you have it already. You already know what to do. You just need to get clear on what God is leading you to do, what you need to put in what order, and what you need to work on. Of course, you can do this on your own. You don't need this Clarity Retreat kit, but I know how helpful it is to have someone guide you through this kind of process because it can be a lot to navigate. And that's what I've created here is the step-by-step instructions, the workbooks and all that. So you don't have to worry about all that. All you have to do is get it, and then you listen to the trainings, and then all you got to focus on is doing what I'm walking you through step by step so that you can hear what God's leading you to do. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go to mamawithacalling.com/Clarity Retreat Kit Special, all one word. Because this week until December 21st, it's on special holiday price. And then the price is going to go up. So make sure you grab your copy so you can work on it during this amazing time. I know it might feel kind of crazy. Like, no, I don't have time for that with Christmas coming. I totally get it. Or maybe you do. Maybe you have a lot of downtime. I don't know your situation, but I know that for me, that time between Christmas and New Year's is my favorite time to plan. I will be using this during that time. And because I feel like, nobody's really doing anything. Like my husband's going to be here. He's going to be off of work. My son's going to be out of school. They're just going to kind of be hanging out with all their Christmas stuff. And it's a great time to just sit and plan. Just take one afternoon and have it ready to go. Or you can at least get it now for this price and then you'll have it ready to go when the new year comes around. And like I said, a cool perk is that you have lifetime access to this. So you can use it again and again each time that you want to get clear on your business direction, like every single quarter. Okay, so regardless of how you do it, you don't have, there's a number of ways to process this, but I hope that you'll take the time to pause, let your thoughts settle, seek God's guidance on where you should go next in your business, because sometimes we think that what we need to actually do is keep moving forward, keep trying, keep working harder. And in reality, we need to sit, we need to pause, we need to reflect. And that process is what you need to help alleviate some of that stress. So I hope that you are able to do this in the near future. Go grab your copy of the Clarity Retreat Kit. Let me know the insight that you get, the clarity. I would love to hear how that goes for you. You can message me on Facebook or inside of the Facebook group. Links for that are below in the description. I hope you enjoy the holidays. I might do one more episode before the new year, but I'm not making any promises. So I will see you guys back in the new year, ready to share more things to help you be successful as you pursue what God is calling you to do. And I hope that these insights today help you as you're following where God is leading you this week. Until next time, keep pursuing your calling. Thanks for listening to the Mama with a Calling podcast. As always, you'll find the show notes for today's episode at mamawithacalling.com/podcast. Really quick before you head out, are you loving these episodes? To make sure this podcast gets in the ears of as many mamas as possible, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I'm going to be reading your reviews on the podcast, so I can't wait to hear from you. Also, if you know someone that needs to hear these episodes, grab a screenshot and share it on Instagram, and don't forget to tag me at Mama with a Calling so I can share it in my stories. Until next time, keep pursuing your calling.